Hello, this is Weekend File on the NTA. We are live in Abuja. A well-nourished and healthy people are the primary focus of sustainable development. Food security is attained when all people at all times have physical, social and economic access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. As an important global issue, food security has a close relationship with human health, nutrition, climate and other factors. The 2022 rainy season in Nigeria is at its peak, with adequate distribution of rain for a cropping season. Fresh produce are already in the market, indicating that the food inflation will drop, going by the law of demand and supply. 2022 cropping season and food availability is our focus this week on Weekend File as we look at the season, harvest, food price and storage. We will bring you updates on zones plus studio discussion with Kabirul Ibrahim, a former president, All Farmers Association of Nigeria. I am Kenan Ima Aburike. Welcome and the news first. President Muhammadu Buhari will depart Abuja Sunday, September 18 for New York, United States, to attend the annual meeting of world leaders, 77th United Nations General Assembly. Key topics of discussion are war in Ukraine, the energy crisis, climate action, ending the COVID-19 pandemic, and a special Transforming Education Summit. President Buhari will take his turn to deliver the national statement on the second day of the general debate on Wednesday, September 21. Aside his statement, the president will also participate in high-level meetings and side events, including the Nigeria International Economic Partnership Forum, convened by Nigeria in partnership with the Business Council for International Understanding, strengthening coordination through National Humanitarian Development Peace (NHDP) framework, a practical approach to sustainable solutions to ensure no one is left behind. Organized by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development and the EFCC NEPAD program on combating illicit financial flows, President Buhari will also hold strategic bilateral meetings with world leaders, renowned investors and heads of multinational organizations while in New York. On the entourage of the president are the First Lady Aisha Buhari, some governors, ministers and top government officials. The president is expected back in Abuja on Monday, September 26. Vice President Oshimajo will be representing Nigeria at the state funeral for the late Queen Elizabeth II at the United Kingdom. Vice President Oshimajo departs Abuja today and will join members of the royal family and world leaders. Ahead of the service, the Vice President will be among guests and dignitaries to be received by King Charles III and Queen Consort Camilla at a reception in Buckingham Palace on Sunday. A statement by Laolu Akonde, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media Publicity Office of the Vice President, indicates that the Vice President will also hold a bilateral meeting with the UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly before returning to Nigeria after Monday's state funeral. The 2022 Third Quarter Chief of Army Staff Conference has ended in Abuja with far-reaching directives to further upscale operations across the country. The Army is also to inject more troops and platforms to ongoing operations.
Our connected actions in the Northeast Theater operation have continued to dismantle the cohesion of the insurgents, resulting in massive surrenders of the terrorists. This has positively impacted on the morale of the troops. The troops deployed in the South-South region under Operation Delta Safe have continued to perform creditably with the implemented joint operations, leading to the arrest of several suspects and their sponsors.
The Army Chief promised to ensure a secured environment for the forthcoming 2023 general elections. Now, as part of the post-insurgency recovery drive, Borno State Governor Babagana Umar Azilim has inaugurated a number of completed projects and performed groundbreaking ceremonies for new ones in Biu Emirate, Southern Borno. The governor equally supported a government-remodeled higher Islamic school with 40 million naira. Mohammed Goni reports.
Government Day Secondary School in Buratai community of Biu local government, designed to accommodate 1,500 students, and the 60 classroom community high Islamic school in Biu town, both inaugurated by Governor Zulum, are some of the 24 mega schools constructed by the present administration in Borno State. Emir of Biu, Mai Mustafa Umar Mustafa, Biu local government chairman Ibrahim Haruna, representative of Buratai community as well as the proprietor of the high Islamic school, expressed gratitude to the state government for citing numerous developmental projects in the emirate. The state government has always emphasized that building more mega schools across the state is part of efforts to rejuvenate the education sector, adjudged to be the worst hit by 13 years of Boko Haram crisis, which also necessitated recruitment of 1,000 teachers and rehabilitated over 600 classrooms. At Buratai, Governor Zulum directed recruitment of additional 20 teachers for the school on ad hoc basis, while those found to have stood out will be engaged permanently. Education Commissioner Lan Abawakilbe highlighted strides made in the education sector by Governor Zulum's administration that include building staff quarters in some communities to create enabling environment for teachers. The model Mega High Islamic School operated in an old building before it was completely rebuilt by the state government. In each of the two schools, Governor Zulum presented 200 bicycles for pupils who had to trek long distance to get to schools and textbooks. While in the area, Governor Babagana Omara also inaugurated zonal office of the Department of Monitoring, Evaluation and Special Projects under the Governor's Office to entrench good governance, and a groundbreaking ceremony for construction of 2 billion naira worth vocational training center both in Biu town. In Maiduguri, Mohammed Goni, NTA.
The National Youth Service Corps is taking steps to address fraudulent enlistment and the mobilization of graduates for the mandatory program. This issue featured prominently at the 2022 Batch C pre-mobilization workshop in Abuja with the theme "Stemming Fraudulent Enlistment and the Mobilization Process, Time for Drastic Action to Arrest the Menace." Olainka Ojo reports.
Now, NYC field officers have been detecting some prospective corps members, especially those claiming to be foreign trained, with the inability to defend their supposed educational qualifications. In the process, a series of confessions were extracted from them, which has assisted and is still assisting the Corps in carrying out further investigations.
We still observe gaps in the upload of faking of academic credentials, upload of unqualified individuals, and many other acts of dishonesty.
The Corps says it is now time to stem all fraudulent enlistments in the mobilization process.
We remain unwavering in our determination to block attempted presentation of unqualified persons for national service.
This explains the compelling need for school managers and other stakeholders in education to rise to the occasion and check the problem. Now, student affairs officers from corps producing institutions in charge of the mobilization process for corps members have been engaged.
NYC can sanction such institutions because they are not doing the right thing. All problems related to mobilization, either rightly or wrongly, will be put at the doorstep of JAMB. We will not hesitate to continue to expose them.
The workshop, among other things, is appealing to the institutions to always ensure that only credible officers are entrusted with the task of handling the data of graduates being processed for mobilization. Olainka Ojo, NTA News.
Away from education, Nigeria has an effective national identity database to cater for the security and infrastructure needs of the people. This is the message of the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy to the commemoration of the 4th National Identity Day in Abuja. Victor Azul reports that enrollment has now hit 89 million, a 26 million increase from last year.
7 million in 2015, 63 million on ID Day last year and now 89 million enrolled Nigerians tells of the steady growth of Nigeria's identity database. With a population said to be more than 200 million people, however, this also tells the story of how much more needs to be done. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economies makes the necessity even clearer.
If population is increasing, where people do not have valid identification, planning for security is impossible. Planning for their education is impossible. Planning for their food security is impossible. Planning for their medical health care is impossible. It is only the national database that will guide government in taking decision when it comes to budgetary provision, national planning, in education, in food security, in health, among many others.
And it does seem that NIMSI is already up and about the task ahead, hence this clarion call to associates.
We belong to a community and we have leaders, and it is for us to carry the message forward to our different localities, our different villages when we visit or when we call, to make sure that they understand what identity is all about.
For good measure, brand ambassadors are also unveiled to help spread the message. Among them, NTA's Cyril Stober. In Abuja, Victor, as your NTA.
The management of Africa's largest television network, the NTA, say they will leverage the just concluded International Broadcast Convention in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, to upgrade and position the organization to align with modern global broadcasting standards. Anthony Fulson has the details.
The NTA management team, made up of the Acting Director General Abdulhamid Dembos, Executive Director News Mohamed Labo, Executive Director Programs Wole Koka, and that of Engineering, Moses Opanachi. After engaging with the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, and other critical exhibitors and manufacturing companies, they went round exhibition stands and pavilions. Back home in Nigeria, I took them on, one after the other, beginning with the Acting Director General.
The visit was so successful and is very rewarding. We have seen all that we wanted to see, and we have met all our contracts, and any moment from now and whenever we are ready to make purchases for the right equipment. We have the contracts, and the manufacturers are ready to work with us, and I think that is a progress in itself.
For news and programs, what lies ahead?
The industry is very dynamic. Every year there is something new, and we have seen a lot of those things because they don't come cheap. NTA has identified those things that we need, and with the right funding we should be able to acquire those equipment.
Broadcasting is like every minute the goalpost shifts, and you have to know what is out there. For us in NTA, we needed to know, more so preparing for upcoming elections. We want to know what the new technologies, how to deploy it, and what we can do to make a difference in whatever we are going to do. Executive Director Engineering says the best of NTA is underway.
Why am I so happy? As the Executive Director Engineering, all our community stations, NTA state capitals that are being operating 24 hours. With this new development, we go into longer hours of operations, and when we have longer hours of operations, we'll be able to increase our eyeballs, we'll be able to become more relevant, and we'll be able to achieve the mandate of NTA.
Putting up confidence in plans underway for the NTA, the Acting Director General simply said,
"You sound very confident." Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Yes. We are much better than ever before, and we are ready for 2023 elections and even beyond. And but what I want to assure Nigerians is that with the plan we have on board, I think a lot should be expected from us, and we will not fail.
Broadcast improvement, we saw for content creations, there is a lot of improvement, a lot of advances. You will agree with me, before now, we need a very big teleprompter. We now have teleprompter. The at your GSM phone?
Well, there's so many good things out there, and this year, before the end of the year and before the election, we are prepared to deploy what we're seeing to enhance both our programming and our transmission.
We have the manpower and we are going to upgrade their capacity. We'll give them the necessary training.
So what should Nigerians expect from the NTA?
Nigeria should expect the best from NTA.
With these assurances and confidence in the disposition of the management team, indeed, with the right funds available, NTA will maintain its pride of place. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
And talking infrastructure, Ministry of Works and Housing Babatunde Fashola has directed contractors working on various federal road constructions in Oyo State to expedite action for early completion of the project for the benefit of commuters. The minister gave this directive while inspecting some ongoing road projects in the state. Shola Wahid has details.
To ensure that all ongoing road projects are completed on or before scheduled time, the minister taught the Oyo-Ogbomoso dual carriage road, where it was disclosed that 56% of construction work has been completed.
Out of 52 kilometers between Oyo and Ogbomoso, the contractor has now completed 30 kilometers of binder, which is what we are standing on. They expect that by next year, November, all of this should be fully completed. So relief will come to Oyo and Ogbomoso town. All the heavy trucks will now come through this way instead of going through the city, and all of those accidents you used to have there on the sharp turns and all of that will certainly now become history.
He directed contractors handling the 28-kilometer Okewo road to do a thorough job, stressing that it was part of the present administration's policy to engage and encourage local contractors.
This road is not just a road, it's one of the roads that you will see on the list of roads to farming areas on our national map. You can see the excitement the community is doing, and it shows you how so important to the quality of our lives infrastructure is.
At the Ibadan-Ife-Ilesha road, the minister noted that end of the year movement will soon commence, adding that there is the need to ensure that sections of the road are motorable. He expressed satisfaction at work done at the construction sites visited. In Ibadan, Shola Wahid, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Minister of Transportation, Muazu Jaji Asambo, has described the nation's inland waterways as veritable channels to Nigeria's prosperity and long overdue for harnessing with economic potentials capable of revolutionizing the country's economy. The minister said this in Abuja at the inauguration of Technical Working Group on the proposal for channel management from Escravos to Onitsha and the Barrow ports on the Niger River on the public-private partnership platform.
But such an activity are enormous. One, you are reducing congestion at the Lagos ports. Two, you are saving our roads. Three, you are creating a new mode of transportation by water, which will engage people, will engage our security forces, because you cannot move this cargo without security escort. But believe me, if I don't achieve anything in this ministry, I want to achieve this project. Please. And I want to count on you that we have good channel management in place, and we also have the marina development also at least commissioned and started.
The minister said Nigeria can learn from the United States of America's example, where the economies of 38 states depend on inland waterways for the movement of about 630 million tons of cargo annually, valued at over $73 billion. It is interesting to note that 28 states of Nigeria are connected by water. The 18-man technical working group has technocrats from the National Inland Waterways Authority, Nigerian Ports Authority, and the Nigerian Navy, among others, with the Permanent Secretary, Transportation, Dr. Magdalene Ajani as chairman, the Managing Director of NIWA, Dr. George Mohalo as alternate chairman, the Deputy General Manager, Business Development, NIWA, Hassan Kaka as secretary. The 45th National Council on Agriculture meeting has ended in Jos, Plateau State. The council is advocating the harmonization of policies and programs between the federal and state governments for sustainable growth of the sector. Musa Aliyu reports.
These delegates from the 36 states and the FCT converged here on the plateau to critically assess Nigeria's agricultural development.
All in the interest of agriculture for this country.
The meeting focused more on primary production, value addition, land, as well as livestock development. Minister of Agriculture, Muhammad Mahmoud Abubakar, said government plans to establish agriculture business incubation centers that will be hosted by 5 universities. The incubation centers will have the capacity of training 4,000 students per session. The centers will be situated at Umar Musa Yar'Adua University, Katsina, University of Abuja, University of Maiduguri, Federal University of Agriculture, and Niger Delta University.
We also hope to vigorously develop clusters, rural model centers, and rural cottage industries, as well as establish 8 special agro-industrial processing zones across the country. As the chairman of the Modern Governors Forum,
the host governor examined some of the challenges facing agricultural production in Nigeria, and specifically Plateau State.
I have also had interface with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and its parastatals on the issue of value addition, extension services, timely farming input to our farmers.
Only this summer is one of our developments, and I wish to call all Nigerians that we should have a document that should have a time limit on how we can progress in agriculture.
Development partners, including the United Nations, have pledged to work with both the federal and the state governments with a view to boosting the country's food production. From Jos, Plateau State, Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
You're watching Weekend File on the NTA Network Service. Kabiru Ibrahim, President, All Farmers Association of Nigeria, will join us after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. The 2022 rainy season has been stable, showing signs of bumper harvest. Investigations carried out by Musa Aliyu indicate that fresh produce are available in the market, but prices are yet to stabilize.
The rainy season has been friendly, especially the distribution aspect of the rains. Farmers in states where the rains have stabilized early have started harvesting some of crops. These crops include yam, cassava, maize, millet, groundnut, among other produce. And markets like this one are the first point of call for people looking for fresh farm produce. For instance, this yam market located in Ibadan, Oyo State, thousands of tubers are supplied to the market on daily basis. This farmer says the output is encouraging. In harvest time like this, prices of agricultural produce usually experience a drop, but this year the prices of produce have remained high. Recent figures by the National Bureau of Statistics indicate that food prices rose by 22.02% year-on-year in July. The inflation was more in the prices of cereals, potatoes, yam, meat and fish.
Food security, that is what the people are running for. Having enough to eat, having access to it, affordability.
Most of the harvest, which include the drying of produce, is carried out manually, sometimes in an unhygienic manner. The Plateau State Governor says post-harvest losses have been a major challenge.
We need to change this strategy and do so fast to save our farmers from poverty and despondency.
Professor Abdullahi Mustafa of the National Biotechnology Development Agency said the use of modern farming technology will help farmers address post-harvest losses.
Especially in the area of creating job and in the area of nutritional security and in the area of food security, because Nigeria is a country of 200 million people, and feeding these people requires technology, requires science, requires advancement.
Another challenge confronting farmers yet to harvest their produce is flooding.
Thousands of hectares of farmland in 32 states have been submerged. This remains a threat to food security in states like Jigawa, Gombe, Kano, Bauchi, and Niger. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, transportation is regarded as crucial in improving agricultural productivity. It enhances the quality of life of the people, curates better markets, facilitates interaction, and opens up new areas to economic focus. Ruth Aria Samuel takes a look at challenges associated with transporting fresh food to the southwest, particularly Lagos.
Mile 12 Market, majorly known for retailing of fresh food items like pepper, tomato, onions, and other edible goods. It is so popular far beyond the southwest to the east and north central states. Undoubtedly a blessing to the people of the state, as it helps them to get an array of food items in small or large quantity. Transporting the produce from the village and farms in the northern part where the produce is cultivated to specific markets in the southwest is the first hurdle these farmers have to contend with. For a city like Lagos with its perennial gridlock, it is a tale of woes.
Traffic on the road. I'm telling you, what brings the traffic is the back road between the Niger State and let's say when you are coming from Kano State, coming to the Niger State, you need the back road in that place. So that's where the traffic is at.
When we have got it from the north, that we are assuming it's coming in this full package, and when it gets to Lagos, based on construction going on the major highways, and they cannot access Lagos, it will lead to loss for the farmers.
Salisu Shehu is a driver from Bauchi. He says it has always been his business transporting fresh food to Lagos.
Yeah, 3 days. 3 days. Yeah. If you come from Niger to Lagos, your pepper, if you don't spoil, they don't spoil.
Over the years, a significant portion of the produce is lost during transportation, a limitation many say should be looked into for possible solutions.
Vegetable produce are produced, and when they consume, need to be connected. And what does the connection is transportation infrastructure.
Experts say there is an urgent need for corporate organizations and government at all levels to invest in modern storage facilities and improve rail transportation if Nigeria is to sustain its food security. In Lagos, Ruth Ariel Samuel, NTA News.
Joining me in the studio is the President, All Farmers Association of Nigeria, AFAN, Kabiru Ibrahim. You're welcome to Weekend Farm.
Thank you very much.
What's the general outlook to the cropping season amid loads of rain and flooding?
Well, it's a mixed bag. In the beginning, we were cautioned by NIMET that there would be flooding, there would be gaps in rains, early cessation in some areas. But generally, I think the rains have been very good this year. The only problem is that we've had flooding, but we were cautioned by the hydrological agency, which said there will be flooding in about 32 states. And we are beginning to see it, and it will even be more because a very important dam has been opened around the Cameroons, and it always comes with flooding. But generally speaking, the prices are not likely to come down because there are many factors in the production, that affected costs. If you remember, there were a lot of cries about the skyrocketing prices of fertilizer. We used to have the presidential fertilizer initiative where we bought 2010 at 5,000 or 5,500, as the case may be, and now that fertilizer type sells for over 20,000. 15 sells for about 27,000. Urea is almost 30,000. So when you look at all these things, you find that the farmer will not break even if the prices even come down. And then because we've had so many problems like insecurity, so many shocks over the last 3-4 years, the whole idea is that the farmers are blamed, but we are not looking at first the purchasing power of the naira itself. and then there will be scarcity, because in some places some farmers are not even readily able to go to their farms. Three, there is of course this flooding issue that we have spoken about.
But then there shouldn't be any fear about food availability, if I may put it that way.
No, I think there should be fear, because you see, it's almost a global thing. The whole world is going through this. The food issue, the food system issue is global. You know, we just had the Africa Green Revolution Forum, AGRF, in Kigali. We were there for a whole week, and the whole of Africa is trying to reinvigorate its food system. And you recall that the Secretary General of the UN flagged off the food system dialogue in September last year. And we even have a desk officer in Nigeria for the food system, and all countries of the world have it. And now with the war in Ukraine and Russia, you find that so many things are not really working for the world. COVID-19 is still there, the effect that we've had is still there. So I think there is fear that there might be scarcity during towards the end of this year and even the early part of next year. And unless we take decisive action, and you know, the president mentioned in his October speech that the National Reserve Agency should be resuscitated. He said it in October, but this is September, it has not been resuscitated. So if you check our storages, the silos and all, we have nothing. So if there is any problem, any turbulence in the food system, there will not be anything to go back on. And every country in the world is on its own today. If you find, even if you look at the United States, there is a lot of inflation. This food inflation is all over, it's a global thing. So there is fear that something could go wrong.
But then something must be done at the end of the day.
Well, what I think should be done by Nigeria is, in spite of the turbulences this could cause, you know, if you intervene now to buy and hedge for a rainy day, I think we should do that, because you can see that this is the harvest season, and people will naturally sell off some of the produce to do some other things. So government should quietly buy a large chunk of this, you know, that the people want to sell because it's surplus to them, it's more than they can eat. Keep it in the store or in the silos, and then release it when prices get very high, and which will be very soon. Because you see, I have looked at the food system generally, you know, I wrote a number of things on Nigeria's food system. The currency we have, the Naira, even today is in the black market is about 705, 708, getting to 710. And in other countries in West Africa, I visited the DRC and Rwanda. A dollar is you can buy tea from on the roadside with dollar. They will give you change in francs. In hotels, you eat food and you give you a dollar. In Nigeria, we don't do that. But you see, what I have seen is in Rwanda, 1,000 francs is equal to $1. And by the same token, 1,000 francs will be equivalent to 700 and something Naira. But you remember that in not too distant past, the franc was less than 200 Naira. It has remained stable because they are now calling the bluff of the people who own the dollar. And unless you do that, the dollar will always make your currency go down, and your purchasing power will be very, very poor, very low. So Nigeria
that follows dynamics of economics along the way. But we will get to talk more about food sufficiency and availability after the break. Of course, you're watching Weekend File, and we are looking at 2022 cropping season and food availability. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Although farmers within the southeast zone have their way of reading rain patterns to ensure maximum yield, adhering to NIMET's predictions have saved farmers from drought and other natural disasters. Mina Okabasi reports that the stakeholders, however, lament lack of storage facilities.
Apart from individual efforts by farmers in Enugu State to increase yield this farming season with NIMET's prediction in mind, the Enugu State government, through agencies like International Fund for Agricultural Development, a federal government-assisted value chain development program, strives to put the state top on the high-yielding zones by encouraging rural farmers.
NIMET predictions is like the Bible of farmers to go to farm. If NIMET predicts early rainfall, that means farmers have to catch up and plant early.
In a telephone conversation with Chairman All Farmers Association Enugu State, Romanus Eze, who posited that though farmers within the zone have their own natural way of reading rain patterns, NIMET predictions, however, come as added security as it guides them on when to start cultivation and planting to avoid drought. On how rural farmers have contributed to the availability of food this season, respondents say these set of farmers constitute the largest number of farmers, and with the traditional 4 market days of the East, rural farmers constantly bring out their produce at very affordable prices, given that they do not have means of preservation, while urban traders go to the hinterland to buy cheap and sell in the cities to make gains. They call on government and all stakeholders to help provide storage facilities for rural farmers to make bumper harvests in subsequent years.
Jigawa is one state worst hit by flood. This creates fear among farmers whose hope of getting a bumper harvest is dashed because of the devastating effects of the flood to their farmland. In this report, Awal Mohammed Kazaure tries to find out how farmers are coping with the situation.
At the onset of this year's rainy season, farmers in Jigawa State had high hope for bumper harvest for the steady rainfall experience. Then the rains came with its attached consequences that submerged farmlands and displacing farming communities. Crops like maize, beans, granite, millet, vegetables, and the major one, rice, planted on waterlogged areas were not spared. Narrating their ordeal, farmers affected described this year's rain pattern as unusual. We are now at a granite farm, but it has been affected by the flood. I have millet palm that did not produce anything due to the flood. The situation has also affected the supply of foodstuff and other crops to the markets, which is common with this period. In some local markets, there is still low supply of some crops at this harvesting time, as most farmers could not make it to market due to flood water that cut off major roads in the state. We don't have maize. They bring maize from Zaria for us. Even rice was affected in some places.
There are a lot of seeds that will be used on the fadama, and they have short duration, like cowpea. It will do after the water has receded, and it will give a very good result.
This is what we call a residual moisture cropping. If people can take advantage of this situation, incidentally, flood comes with some level of nutrition to the soil. And by so doing, I think the use of even inorganic fertilizer is likely to be even less than in situations when there was no flood.
In its part, the state government is advising the farmers to reach out to its agricultural officers for expert advice, as arrangement has been made to supply improved water moisture seedlings to make up what is lost in the flood. From Duse, Awal Muhammad Kazauri, NTA News.
The peak of rainy season is characterized by the commencement of harvest of new crops such as yams, legumes, cereals, amongst others. With this development, it is also expected that prices of these commodities will be less and bring relief to buyers and consumers. Elias Itiaf takes a look at the availability of agricultural produce during this period and other associated variables.
Benue, like many states in Nigeria, practices predominantly rain-fed agriculture, which entails that the peak of the rainy season ushers in new farm produce like yam, maize, groundnuts, and several others. And as such, most markets in the state are witnessing availability of new yam and other foodstuff, a situation that has boosted commercial activities of different forms.
As the production is ongoing, so as the prices are low because they are everywhere to be found.
The expenses were inside the market and our problem.
The influx of these farm produce in the markets is no doubt an indicator of bumper harvest for farmers of these crops.
We are lacking machine to process tomato and pepper.
An agricultural expert, Professor Simon Itonde, noted that the lack of good storage facilities may negatively affect the quest for food security, as most of the crops produced end up wasting.
You visit some of these marketers. They are already making yam chips out of the freshly harvested yams that they ought to have stored and kept for a longer period.
To say that we need processing factories to process this thing is an understatement. We urgently and desperately need them.
In addressing these challenges, some believe that the provision of cottage processing industries in farming communities will guarantee food safety and security for the teeming populace.
Let's now round up our discussion with Kabiru Ibrahim, President, All Farmers Association of Nigeria, AFAN. Now, many Nigerians are more concerned about food prices and storage for further availability of food, amid global challenges, so to speak. So how do we tackle these issues?
You see, if you are talking of farmers having their own storages or a government storage system that creates a buffer, there are two different things. If I am producing maize, for instance, and I have a stock that is more than what I need to eat, I either sell in the open market or I have the liberty of keeping it until after a while to now sell. But you have a situation in country where you have very low availability of these these things. So people want to do other things. Every farmer has got his or her own competence. You will sell what you have produced to buy something that you have not produced. When you go to the market, what you are buying at an exorbitant price. So what you will sell you have to break even to do that. So these prices, we are caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. What you have to sell, you have to get
be regulated.
In Nigeria we have a mixed economy. You cannot have price control, because if you have price control, also you should regulate the price of fertilizer and other inputs. If you don't do that, why do you want to regulate what I produce now? So do you see there is a missing link here? The most important consideration is shoring up the purchasing power of the naira, and there are people given this responsibility. They should simply work very hard to make sure that our currency gets a good value in the market. Otherwise, this thing will exacerbate our situation. You have money, you cannot afford food, because your money cannot buy it. And then when you say rice now is 31 naira or so, what is the production cost of 50 kg?
Do you understand?
So this is it.
Yeah, the main issue is for us to at least have enough food, across board, so that malnutrition and things like that wouldn't be part of our history.
All these threats that I said, these shocks in production, but you can do something. Okay, you can see now in the recent past 4 weeks going, you see a reduction in banditry and all that, because we are taking the fight to the bandits. If we wait for them to attack before we fight back, we have a problem. But now that we are reaching them, where they are, I think there is some respite. If we keep working on that to ensure security, then one shock is out. The second shock is that we must be able to invest properly in agriculture. Because that investment in agriculture is very colossal. I can see something happening in Cross River State. The governor has done a rice mill, a very large rice mill, and it's got so many facilities. That kind of thing should be modeled by other governors and other states. Therefore, if we invest more, we will produce more, we will have more food on the table, and then we must be careful of what is staple. You see, if I served in the southwest, southeast.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Kabir Ibrahim, for coming on Weekend File tonight.
Thank you.
Well, we've been talking with the president of All Farmers Association of Nigeria, Kabir Ibrahim, on the cropping season and food availability. Let's go on our final break on the program. Talking sports, as Roger Federer calls time on tennis, we take a glance at his sterling career as one of the richest men to have ever played the game. And next is a look at the weather forecast for Sunday.
Hello, it's time for Sunday's weather forecast. Thunderstorm is expected to affect part of the northern region, places like Adamawa, Taraba, Kano, Katsina, Zamfara, and Kebbi, while the rest of the northern region remain cloudy. The north central region, places like Kaduna, Zaria, Federal Capital Territory, Plateau, Nasarawa, and Benue should watch out for light rains. Intermediate to continuous rainfall over the inland cities and the coastal belt of the country in the morning. Moving into afternoon, evening, look favorable for thunderstorms and rains over the northern region, the north central region down to the southernmost part of the country. NIMET high impact based weather map for Sunday showing high intensity of rainfall is expected and possibility of flooding, where orange coloration is showing, the green coloration is showing moderate to light rains. I remain Suleiman Gurin. Up next is temperature forecast across some selected cities, and thank you for watching.
And that's Weekend File on the NTA. Thanks for watching, and do join the NTA in the fight against rape and rapists. I am Kenan Ima Abodiken. Good night.